Well, as you know, it's been a very interesting and troubling times in the soybean world and actually in all of agriculture with the disruptions in trade. So anything positive like a renegotiated NAFTA agreement is positive for soybean farmers. As you know, we went into the NAFTA renegotiations saying we wanted to do no harm to agriculture. So if the president was going to try to renegotiate a new agreement, we didn't really want it to undercut the progress that had already been made under the old NAFTA agreement as it relates to agriculture. From what we know, what we've seen, I think that happened. I think there have been some enhancements, particularly for the hog industry and particularly some dairy in Canada. For soybeans, it's pretty much an open border, open trade anyway, so we didn't see any really negative in the new agreement. Did seem to make some progress as it relates to intellectual property and biotechnology, so I think that's a real positive moving forward. Well, I think a lot of us are hoping that this is a trend that's going to begin, that the president has had some success, it appears, in this new negotiated agreement with Canada and Mexico. We've got a new Korean agreement. They finally have started direct negotiations with Japan on a bilateral agreement. Seem to have made some progress in at least turning down the rhetoric with Europe. All of this is leading up trying to get focused on China. And again, some of us have been critical over the last several months, thinking that's where we should have been focused. The president really went after lots of countries at the same time, and who knows, perhaps this was a better strategy and we'll get there. But again, anytime we can see progress on trade agreements, that's a good thing for agriculture. For many of us in agriculture, it's been a difficult line to walk, because on one hand, we've been trying to communicate to this administration and the White House how damaging these trade tariffs and counter tariffs can be and have been and are impacting soybean profitability in all of agriculture. At the same time, we want to continue to move forward on new trade agreements. And then thirdly, I would add, we've also been looking to build markets around the world or take advantage, if you will, of low soybean prices. You know, the bad news is we have historically low soybean prices with a huge carryover. The good news is we have a lot of soybeans to sell at a very competitive price. So we are selling soybeans into markets we haven't sold for a while, selling increased shipments to places that haven't bought that many soybeans from us, because we are about the only supply available in the world, and we are at a very, very competitive price. Bad news for farmers, that means low prices for them. The good news is we're getting into markets we haven't been in for quite a while. Well, I think the question is, what are those upside potentials? Again, for soybeans, we had positions to lose, if you will, or trade policies to lose. We really didn't have much to gain from it. But again, if it increases exports of pork and poultry and other products, that's a good thing for us. So I think those are potentially positives. I think the potential negative here is any hard feelings that may be left over from these trade disputes. So again, just like in China, if we've helped the Mexican customers buy soybeans and soybean meal, in this case from other places, perhaps they'll be more likely to do so in the future. So, you know, whenever you get into trade disputes, rhetoric gets a little hot and heavy. Sometimes there can be lasting impacts on trade patterns. And again, we hope that's not the case in Mexico and Canada as well, but we'll have to see.